Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. So the important news and editorial that are relevant for the preparation of civil services examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 19th of January. The first important news, that is annual status of education report 2022. This is from the explain page of the Indian Express. Second, new study on viral nutrition. Third, spot billed eagle owl spotted in the Andhra Pradesh forest. Fourth, oil demand may see high after the China's reopening because the COVID-19 policies of basically China has actually adopted a zero COVID policy, which has called for a lot more restriction in the trade as well. And the last is an editorial admonishment that engage the constitutions, right? Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And before I begin this session, those of you who are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do not forget to press a like button. So starting the news, the first topic, that is the annual status of education report 2022, something important for general studies paper 2 under the subtopic, that is issues related to development and management of education as well as human resources. So talking about the details for the status of the education, NGO named Pratham has released the annual status of education report, better known as ASER report in 2022. This is for 2022, the latest report. And the report has highlighted that the enrollment has gone up even during the COVID-19 lockdown, and even the school was shut. And this is at the time that the report has reported this particular enrollment has on a higher side. So this particular part of the report specifically highlight that the level of enrollment has taken a toll. Now, since further, including the older age group, even though there was fears that older girls especially may have a dropout, but this was not evident at the fact. And it says that the enrollment numbers in the primary school and even for the secondary school are the higher side. Since 2005 ASER survey, the children age group between 6 to 14 record the trends that the school enrollment, attendance, reading and arithmetic abilities are there. So this particular report highlights all three important aspects, that is the school enrollment, attendance and reading and arithmetic abilities. So this year, nearly 7 lakh children across 616 districts were surveyed as a part of the annual status of education report 2022. Now, what is the status of school enrollment during the pandemic? The enrollment has gone up in a period when school were shut, and this is against the highest level. It's seen further increase including older age group, even though the fear of older girl child were especially is supposed to be dropped out, which has not took place. And then it's a big shift towards the government school as well. Now, talking about the precise data that was released by the NGO, almost all rural children for the age 16 to 14 were enrolled in the school. This is the data. The color in code, the blue in color is the government school, red in color, green in color is for private, others and not in school. So these are the data. Even you can pause this video and take a screenshot. Now, proportions for the kids taking paid tuitions, that has increased for the states like Bihar, Jharkhand, Nagaland, Manipur, Uttar Pradesh, Assam and all India. So these are the data, and the change proportion is also reflected. Now in pandemic years, the basic reading was harder than the maths. So this is a comparison that able to do at least read and write at the grade 2 level and able to do at least subtraction of 2 digits without borrowing. The proportions of girls aged between 15 to 16 who are not in the school has dropped since 2018. Now, the other part of the report include the improvement in the facilities. One time there has been an improvement in infrastructure viability, and even the rural private school could not do much because of their own economy, which was very fragile. During the COVID-19 lockdown, अगर states की बात करें, they were running short of the finances, and that the reason being the government was not having expenditure on this part. but this being attached to the state government, school distributed textbook and often distributed midday meal as well. The teachers were able to reach out in some of the forms of fashion, and even they continued their education via online mode or any other medium that was possible during the COVID-19 lockdowns. Now, increase in the private tuition, this is what has been witnessed by the report. So, the reason that the private tuition went up probably is because of more flexibility, and the proportion for the student taking private classes after has increased by 4%. This is what the report has highlighted, has seen an increase by 4% over the pre-COVID levels. Now, certain states that has high private tuitions that include Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand. This in these three states the number is almost 8%. Although Bihar and Jharkhand has a high tuition states, 70% of the children in Bihar and 45% of children in Jharkhand are taking tuition. This is what the report has highlighted, compared to only 10% of the student in Himachal Pradesh and 15% of student in Maharashtra. So this is again important data. If you're writing in mains paper, you can highlight this data. Now about the ASER survey की अगर बात करें, it's a national wide survey, citizen led household survey की जाती है, that provide a snapshot of the children schooling and learning in the rural India. The first ASIR was conducted in 2005 and reported annually for 10 years. This is for the first field-based or the basic national-wide ASIR at the gap of 4 years. It comes at a time when children are back from the school after an extended period of school closures. Another news, that is new study on viral nutrition from the text and context page of the Hindu, something important for General Studies paper 3, and that is subtopic conservation, environmental pollutions, degradation and EIA. At the various peaks of the COVID-19, the virus had reputed as a destroyer of the public health system in the human life. Due to COVID-19, the impression about the virus is negative. But in this context, we'll be looking at how viruses are helping the phytoplanktons. The virus is a peculiar biology that insert outside the body, and they hijack the cellular machinery to feed, replicate and spread. This is the nature of the virus. Now, this association with the disease and death has come to define their form in the public imaginations, reminded not even by the fact that any other microbes can destroy the virus. Now, talking about the plankton nutrition, किस तरह से planktons की nutrition होती है. Before I get into the detail of planktons, I just wanted to show you how does the planktons look like in a microscopic image. So this is the images of the phytoplankton. This is a microscopic of 100 U, and this is how this particular organism look like, and this feeding upon the phytoplanktons. Now, nutrition की अगर बात करें, the latest study published by the researcher at the university that has reported that particular genus of phytoplanktons or planktons can consume various and even grow and divide to eat virus. They are feeding upon the virus, and it is already known that these cells can consume the virus with an efforts to destroy them, and such as macrophage cell in the human immune system, right? And phytoplanktons are the genus that is called Halteria that claim to have found even consume 1,000 million ton of virus particle per day. This is the potential, and that's increased to the population using the metabolism energy, providing food to zooplanktons that consume Halteria. Right, and even it's significant for the marine food chain. So consumptions of the Halteria is increasing the food chain, marine food chain की feasibility को और ज़्यादा बढ़ाती है. Now, what are planktons? Planktons are the microscopic organism that can only move with the current. This is again an important point. Now, they can have the facilities to adapt properly themselves. And Halteria phytoplanktons are ciliates, that meaning that their hair-like structure called the cilia at the surface, right? At the phytoplankton is seen near to the surface where the water bodies are there, and it is an autotroph. Autotroph means that they can make their own foods by consuming carbon dioxide and other compound by the process of photosynthesis. Now, the role of Halteria की अगर बात करें, this is found in the large number in the fresh water. This is how it look like, and this is a heterotroph, meaning that they can't produce their own food. There are two kind of microorganism. First is called autotroph, which basically make their own food, and other is called heterotrophs, which cannot make their own food, right? Instead, they're well known as bactrovirus to consume bacteria to produce the power for themselves, and they infect and kill both bacteria and planktons to release organic matter that dissolve in the water. Now, redemptions of virus की बात की गई. The virus is a single most populous life form on the earth. They accumulate for the biomass weight, that is for the human, by factor 1010. And the new study for the researchers has found that the Halteria plankton reduce the populations of chlorovirus, that is called feed, and even while growing on their numbers, where Paracium ciliates consume the chlorovirus which does not proliferate. So this is the redemptions in terms of the virus. Spot-billed eagle owl spotted in the Andhra Pradesh forest, something important for General Studies paper 3 under the subtopic, that is conservation, environmental pollutions, degradation and EIA. A wildlife team has recently stumbled upon a spot-billed eagle owl that is called Bubo nipalensis. For the first time that the Simachal forest has witnessed this, right? And for the third time in the Andhra Pradesh. So this is how it actually looked like. And the bird habitat found in the large tree of the thick forest is spread across the Indian subcontinent. It was sighted only twice in the state earlier, both in the time it was in the Nagarjun Sagar Srimalai Tiger Reserve, that is known in NSTR. So this tiger reserve become important for the prelims map work. So this is where it is located, right? It's close to that. And even the states, like it can be asked that in which particular state. So this is in between Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. A team of ornithologists spotted the bird on 7th of January, that is wilted in Talcona forest area. The bold predatory birds measuring 20 to 25 inches in length, and the weight is about 1.5 kg to 2 kg, and small rodent lizards were also found. The bird make a scream to human, and hence it's called a ghost of forest and Indians devil bird in Sri Lanka. This can be relevant for the prelims examination. UPSC can ask you a direct question based on this statement. Now there's a mottled wood wall. How does it look like? This is the images of the wool. The team of the expert have also spotted this wool weekend in the field of Chamala forest in Tirupati Anamala interstate border, and that label it as least concern in terms of population stability and the development assuming significant in the view of maiden site in the verdant Simachal ranges. Moving to the other news, oil demand may see high on China's reopening, something important for General Studies paper 2, that is the effect of policies and politics of developed and developing countries. According to the International Energy Agency, a recent decision by the Chinese government to lift out the COVID-19 restrictions in China is set to have boost the global oil demand this year to a record high. China has witnessed a zero COVID policy, because of which the trade and supply was severely impacted. The two things that dominate oil market is Russia and China. These are the two countries that almost control the entire supply chain. And even the Russia's supply is slow over the full impact, while the China drive outs to the global demand grown, even the shape has speedy and reopening will have remain uncertain, right? So there's clarity that has to be there from the Chinese government, but again, it is something which is on a positive side. And due to Russian-Ukraine war, the things are also impacted. Now, cut in the oil demand due to weak industry activity. A mild weather helped cut the demand by close to a barrel with OECD countries in the last quarter. But despite the mild recession in Europe, the US and China are expected to reopen the fuel bound nearly in the Asian economy and to seek the India's as a leader of the oil growth demand. The preeminent driver of 2023 GDP is the oil growth that will have a timing and the pace of China post-lockdown recovery. The main growth is the supply that is set to come from the US as the output from the OPEC plus countries that will decline. So let's see after the China's approval by the government, how the supply is going to impact the global chain. Now, all eyes on China. Russia's supply slows under the full impact of the sanctions, while China is almost half of the global demand growth. Weak industrial activities, a milder wind helped to cut demand for OECD countries. The main growth in the oil supply is set to come from United States, and the output for the OPEC plus producer will decline, which is led by Russia. Now, moving to the editorial of the day, this is important for General Studies Paper 2 under the subtopic Structure, Organization, and Function of Executive and Judiciary. So, what are the issues under this editorial? First, a theme that talks about mostly the case of Nanda Bharati judgment and the constitutions, its values. We look into the background part, collegium, the target that was made by the law minister and the vice president of India, the foundation of the constitutions, and the conclusion part. So in the year 2023, the year this particular next month, basically in the month of April, this will mark as the 50th year of the Supreme Court verdict in the case of Nanda Bharati versus the state of Kerala. The judgment is widely recognized as a milestone in Indian history because this judgment noted that the parliament power to amend the constitution is not plenary, and any changes that alter the basic structure of the constitution can be declared void. This is a landmark ruling by the Honorable Supreme Court, and this is again very important for the mains examination. This time a debate has although lingered around the basic structure of the Indian constitution, so you can expect a direct question in the prelims as well as in the mains examination. So recently the Vice President of India has launched a salvo of attack in the Supreme Court by calling into the question about the ruling of the Supreme Court with regards to the basic structure of Indian constitution. Now, collegium की अगर बात करें, collegium has all been targeted in the recent time. Much of the criticism has been there with regards to the functioning of collegium, and the senior most judges make like the recommendations binding for the appointment of the judges and transfer. This is how the collegium actually work. But what has happened recently that the Union Minister for Law and Justice and even the Vice President of India has repeatedly doubted the Supreme Court judgment 2015, which called for the formulation of National Judicial Appointment Commission, and this was struck down by the Supreme Court stating that it is a violation of the basic structure of Indian Constitution. Now that criticism has turned sharper with the Vice President deliberate against the case of Nanda Bharati judgment that was given by the Supreme Court. Now he said that the ultimate power should be resting with the legislature, but again when it comes to the basic structure of the constitution and the basic framework, this is actually not the case. Now foundation of constitution की बात की गई है. The elementary premise that the Indian constitution was originally adopted comprising a set of principles that come together and blended identically. Now on only any reasonable reading that the constitutional history, one can see that the constitution is a product of collective vision. Now the vision was built on a distinct idea that India would be governed by the rule of law. So this is how the main foundation of Indian constitution is working. So if you're writing in mains paper, specifically highlight the gist that the governance part of the rule of law has to be pivotal in a country in a democratic setup, and India poses the world's largest democracy in the world. Now to conclude the part, since the judgment in the case of Nanda Bharati case, the Supreme Court has identified several features that is immutable, and there is no doubt that on occasion the court interpreted of these features that has suffered in the coherence, and to give a big push, the basic structure of the doctrine by itself has unsanctions to the place, and the constitution as the legislature whim. So this is how the thing work in terms of the part of the constitution, but the main essence is that the core essence, the fabric of the Indian democracy and the gist of the constitution has to be implemented in a full spirit. Now moving to the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday questions. For first question, the correct option is C. For second question, the correct option is C. Today's MCQ for practice. Making Peace with Nature has been recently published by United Nations Environment Programme, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, Food and Agriculture Organization, World Wildlife Fund for Nature. So do check it out for the correct option. Second question of the day. Vertical launch short range surface to air missile. It is indigenously developed and designed by DRDO. It is capable of neutralizing various aerial threat, including the sea skimming targets. So you have to choose the correct option and practice this question. This will help you to get an edge over the upcoming prelims examination. This was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.